Christmas. Christmas. Most magical time of year.
Now tell me we will find the perfect Christmas tree.
It's Christmas. Christmas is all about forgiveness and family and tradition.
Santa, lots of kids are depending on tonight going off without a hitch.
But in Bailey Downs this Christmas, it's different.
Exactly 1 year ago, last Christmas Eve, the school was the scene of an unimaginable crime.
And you still want to go down there just for some stupid school assignment?
It gets through any door in the school.
This is Krampus, right?
What's a Krampus?
He's like an anti-Santa Claus, a demon who punishes the naughty. He whips them, chains them up, stuff like that.
That's fun.
It's the elves. I fear they may all become infected.
Well, everybody, welcome to Travis and Vic's Drunken Horror Adventures. You only got one drunk on the line right now. Zodiac may be joining us shortly. And our horror movie of the week this week is a Christmas horror story. You know, we stick with the holiday horror theme this week. As we talk about a movie that's on Netflix, you can catch it on there. I've watched it about 15 times since it's been on there, so that may or may not kind of give away a spoiler as to what I think of it. But I will tell you, just to kind of warn you ahead of time, though, whether I like a movie or not, I'll still watch it repeatedly going into this show. So, you know, you just never know what to expect from me as far as that goes. So A Christmas Horror Story is an anthology, kind of like Creepshow, kind of like, I think it's more akin to Trick or Treat, the horror movie that I love from somewhere around 2007, I think. It is an anthology with about 4 or 5 different stories. It really depends on, what you consider its own story in this. And they're all connected in some way, and just like Trick or Treat. This is just one of those that you go in, you get a bunch of stories, and it's up to you to tell me what you like as far as these stories go. By the way, for anybody that wants to join us, you can join us at 347-945. Let's try that again. 347-945-5566 to get on the air with us. Zodiac, like I said, should be here shortly. And anyway, so we start off the movie with this awesome rendition of a Christmas song. And it's one that they really creepied it up. They've added this ominous tone to it, it just really kind of adds to the atmosphere of this Christmas horror. And for people going in and they see the cover with Santa Claus and Krampus, just to give you a heads up, if you think you're coming in to watch a Krampus movie, that's not necessarily the case. This is not, Krampus from a couple of years ago, Michael Dougherty directed. This is kind of its own deal. There are a lot of Krampus offshoots out there as well, and this is not really one of them. Krampus does play a part in this, so I don't want to, completely send you down the wrong path here, but Krampus is not the major part of the movie. So let's go on with this. All right, so the movie kind of starts out with a radio DJ who's played by William Shatner, and I guess we'll just get into this. And he's doing this annual all-day-long Christmas Eve broadcast, which to me would be fucking fun. They're on the air just drunk as shit and get drunker as the day goes on, just playing Christmas music and I guess sharing Christmas stories, that type of thing. And he's sitting there drinking spiked eggnog, and the show's just going on and on. And as the show's going on and on and on, and again, they're splicing this in between stories. So this is, I want to explain, this is kind of like a Tarantino movie in that things aren't boom, boom, boom. It's not story 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is story 1. Story 2, maybe back to 1. It's just bouncing around. It is in chronology, correct? And I believe Zodiac has joined us. What's up, Zodiac?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not much, man. I just was sitting here talking about kind of the how do I explain it? Okay, A Christmas Horror Story. It is an anthology but it's not an anthology like Creepshow in that the stories are completely, their own setting. These are all kind of connected. And Zodiac, I don't know if you've seen Trick or Treat from a few years ago. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I saw that. Like, I vaguely remember it, but I've seen it. It's been a while, but yeah, I remember that one.
I would compare this to that one where everything's kind of connected into one story, even though they're all separate stories,
Yeah, kind of. Intermingle. Kind of like, there was a movie called, I think it was like 1114 or something like that. That was kind of like that, where they were all connected, but it was total separate timelines. That's what it reminded me of.
Exactly. And the thing about this, too, is that they're in chronological order, but they're not in order from, story 1, story 2, story 3, story 4. It's like story 1, or a piece of story 1, a piece of story 2, a piece of story 3, that type of thing, and then it bounces back to 1, that type of thing. So it's just giving you bits and pieces of each story, and then it all plays out in the end. And what I was talking about, I'm going to break this up into stories. I was talking about that the whole movie kind of is almost a narration in a way by William Shatner, where he's talking about something going on at the mall. We have no fucking clue what he's talking about throughout the movie, until the end, obviously, which we'll get into later. But Shatner's talking about this, what's going on at the mall.
Yeah, I was wondering that, too, because he kept, like, slowly hinting at it and drinking a little bit more and it getting worse and getting worse. And I was like, I did the same thing. I was like, okay, so what the hell is going on at the mall? There's been nothing at a mall. What the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, and I just had no clue what he was. I thought he was just kind of narrating in his own little weird way. I just thought I didn't think he played any role in the whole thing. But in the end, we find out how kind of important he is as to what story he's telling. But again, this is basically just William Shatner talking about there's this something going on at the mall, and he never gets into specifics of it, maybe until the end. And he's talking. One thing that he does bring up, and this will lead us into maybe our, I guess, first official story, even though Shatner's story is his own as well, is that a year ago on Christmas Eve, some students at I think it's a high school, I would hope it's a high school considering the age of these kids, were killed. And again, that leads us into our story about these teens who go into a spooky place. And this is your usual typical horror story of, kids going in a place that they're not supposed to go, right?
Oh, yeah, breaking into somewhere and this and that. And yeah, I like the classic kind of lead into it. Somebody always knows, somebody always has a friend that's like their dad is a superintendent or is a president or is this or this, and I'm going to get you guys in, and here's a big, gigantic ring of keys that goes to fucking everything.
Exactly. You got this chick who stole the keys, and her boyfriend calls her the stickiest fingers around, and I thought he was being a pervert, but apparently there's an explanation for that later on. But, apparently she stole these keys to the school, and to lead into this story, what actually happened is her friend has this recording of the police investigation at this school, and basically when the cops were in there, they found something written on the wall in blood. It was just really horrific. There were 2 dead bodies, both of them teenagers, one guy, one girl. The guy was like crucified, and the cop had the shit scared out of him. This black cop had the shit scared out of him. And the girl mentions that, he wasn't the same since or something like that he never wanted to talk about what happened that day. So she has this footage, and they're doing this school project, this recording or this news report, basically, a year after this murder that took place at the school, and whoever did it was never caught. So they're going to go in there, and they're going to film footage here for their school report. And, it's this girl, I think her name's Molly. It's her idea. So it's her, this Chinese guy, and this other dorky kid. And the girl who stole the keys, she had to go on, like, some little getaway with her family. So she couldn't go with them. So you've got these 3, and only these 3, for now in this school. And what we find out about this school, Zodiac, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I got from it. I've seen it kind of written in other places. It's a high school, but at some point in time, it was like a convent or something, or like an asylum in part of it. Is that right?
Yeah, it was some kind of convent or asylum or a sanatorium or something like that, because it had all those weird-ass rooms and stuff in it. And I was thinking that when they went exploring around, I'm like, this is the biggest school I've ever seen. And I went to Holmes High School, which is like one of the biggest schools in the state that I live in. And it looks like a castle. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, how big is this place? But it kind of made sense when they started talking more about it. It used to be, some kind of asylum and this and that.
That was one thing that I had a hard time getting past, that they would have a school in a place like that. But, maybe, I don't know. It seems like it would be like having a school inside Waverly. You live in Kentucky, I think, or you're around Kentucky. You know how Waverly is. Can you imagine a school?
That was the first thought I had. I was like, that would be like having a school or a boarding school or a Catholic school in Waverly Hills.
Exactly. And it's just unbelievable. But, I guess this is just a different place. And it exists in a horror movie world, what can I say? So the girl also mentions that the girl used to babysit the son of the cop that investigated the murder. So this girl, Molly, she used to babysit the son of the cop that investigated the murder. We'll meet the son and the cop later. And obviously, like I said, they get the keys to this place. And they get in there, and the principal's on the phone. And it's, like I said, let me reiterate this point. It's Christmas Eve. This entire story takes place on Christmas Eve. And this story in particular pounds that point home because it's a year since the murders on Christmas Eve. And as we go along inside this thing, basically, these three kids, after the principal leaves the school and they're hiding, they go into this area where students aren't supposed to be. And like Zodiac said, we're talking about the asylum part of the school, or whatever you want to call it, sanitarium. They get locked in there. They can't get the hell out. They can't get their phone stored, just like a typical horror movie. It is what it is. Like I said, this is the typical horror story right there. And they're all trapped in there. And at this point, it's like, I don't know, this story gets it's hard. It's almost slightly hard to follow for me, because the girl's talking about, that there was this girl here that said she had an immaculate conception and she died trying to abort her child. Do you remember that story? I mean, obviously this comes back.
Yeah. They never really said what else, like how she really got pregnant or what really happened or anything like that. It was just. Yeah, they didn't believe her, and so all this other BS happened with her. It was like an immaculate conception, like you were saying, and she, I guess, died when they were trying to abort the baby or get rid of it, which was really creepy and freaking weird.
I will say, of the stories, this is probably the creepiest of all the stories, for sure, and it's the most straight-up horror. The other ones have a little bit of comedy mixed in, whatever. This one's straight up horror. I don't think there's a lot of comedy at all in this one, other than maybe at the start. Anyway, to make a long story short, the girl ends up getting possessed by the one that was pregnant. She kills the Chinese guy because he won't fuck her. That's what I figured out from it. I mean, because she was trying to get him to fuck her, and you figure out why here in a minute. And she's like possessed at the same time, I guess by a ghost. You can call it a demonic entity if you want. She fucks the dorky guy and then realizes like immediately that she's pregnant. So that was her goal the entire time. And then after we do a little more exploring, she finally comes out with it that that's why the other two people were killed, because they wouldn't give this chick a baby. And so this is the end game for this ghost or whatever it is to get her baby into the real world, I guess, or an actual baby born. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that was my thought. Like, she had to finish what she started, or I guess kind of like a grudge type thing. It had to be justified, and everything had to come full circle for her to be pleased or rest or whatever. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny when the girl finally snapped out of it and realized what happened. She was like, "What the hell did you do to me?"
What did you do to me? She says, "What the fuck did you do to me?" And she's the one that like seduces the dork, and the dork looks at her and he's like, "What do you mean? You fucked me?" So yeah, it was an odd story. And the girl, by the way, is the only one that survived. She pretty much, through the power of this ghost, snaps the dork's neck, and then she just walks out of there. And you can see her rubbing her belly like she's pregnant. She's out. She accomplished her goal. And, Zodiac, we'll rank the entire thing. Remember, we used to do the 1 through 4. You do